Welcome everybody to the VibeOps Lounge Day 2 at Cisco Live. My name's John Capobianco, and today we're getting into the flow. Yesterday, Itential announced the GA of our FlowAI product. Today, right now, I'm going to build 3 live agents. Got a little bit of slideware to get through first, but then I'm going to build 3 agents. 1 with our agent builder in the GUI, and then 2 with our Anthropic published skill, which is all developed using spec-driven development. So a little bit about the Agentic operations platform for infrastructure. That is what Itential is. We offer agentic reasoning, and that is the ability for these agents, which are called RBAC agents, reasoning and action agents, for the agent to autonomously reason over the problem. But because the networks are so deterministic, and we need to have very good control and repeatability and item potency, you can attach deterministic workflows to these RBAC agents. And because it's enterprise grade and because it's touching production, we need things like SSO, RBAC, secrets management, the guardrails and the governance. Now that's not the sexy, exciting stuff, but that's the stuff that's going to get you to production. So here is the stack. And I like to look at it as a 4-layer stack with our exposure layer, our northbound interface, where we do have traditional REST API, but we also have model context protocol. Events from the lower layers get surfaced to this exposure layer, and we have a self-service portal as well. The main layer is the agentic reasoning layer, where we have our FlowAgents, our context, our tools, and the builder. Now this actually connects to BYOM, bring your own model, and bring your own provider. A little bit further down, we've got that deterministic layer, your existing workflows, your Ansible playbooks, your Terraform jobs, your Python code. And then all the way at the bottom, we have our integrations layer with things like the Flow MCP gateway. So BYOMCP, bring your own MCPs into the gateway that we can expose to these upper layers. So we have this wonderful operating model where you're going to build the agents, you're integrating your tools, we've got deterministic execution with security and governance, and we're going to operate with insights, meaning everything is logged and is auditable. This is my favorite image. And if you think of the Itential logo in the middle as the agent you're building, we can connect into northbound things like Slack or Teams. We can connect east and west into your sources of truth like NetBox or InfraHub, and then all of your lower level controllers and on-prem infrastructure and cloud infrastructure. Think of this as an a la carte menu. That agent is going to connect to your email, to your Slack, to your ServiceNow, to your on-prem infrastructure, to your controllers, typically using model context protocol. Just another view at this, right? We're going to have our integrations, our inventory, our automations, and then what Itential has are projects where we collect like-minded and group similar objects into workflows, right? And then we talk about that, production grade, logging, auditing, insights, RBAC, SSO. I think this is probably the most important slide in the deck and maybe on the internet today, is how we move through this journey with AI agents. So we really believe that you're going to start with humans in the loop. Do you want to proceed with this action? Right? The human is going to be part of the process when you start. We also believe you're going to start with read-only activities, safe day 0 activities, compliance reports, testing, documentation, explore the capabilities, earn some trust with these agents. You're going to integrate some MCPs and add some model context protocols, still with humans in the loop. As you progress on your journey, we move into humans on the loop, where you sort of let it go and you're keeping an eye on it through the reporting capabilities, to fully human out of the loop, or I like to say humans in the lead, where you set it and it just works like an autonomous coworker, reasoning and taking actions all by itself. So how do we move to an agent-first paradigm, right? And we've talked a little bit about this. We're going to have our AI agents. It's a bit of an eye test for me, I'm sorry. Where we're going to build and run governed agents. Our compliance and validation, where we're going to enforce standards at scale. And finally, the orchestration, Once you build 1 agent, 2 agent, 5 agent, 10 agents, how can we get the agents to orchestrate and collaborate together, much like a team of humans would? And along the bottom, we see the journey: human in the loop, on the loop, multi-agent to full autonomous orchestrated workflows. So we have our AI agents that talk to the FlowMCP server. The FlowMCP server talks down into the Itential platform. The Itential platform talks down into the automation gateway, where we finally reach into infrastructure components. So this is some use case ideas. We wanted to throw some ideas out there for you. And I have a little bit easier slide to read about some use case ideas. So read-only activities, pre and post change validation, right? An agent is perfect for that, and it's safe read-only. Vulnerability management, ticket triage assistance, configuration compliance, troubleshooting, documentation. As you earn trust and we move a little bit closer to a higher risk profile, we move into read and write operations. Operating system upgrades, firewall rule creation, IP block agents, port enable disable, ticket enrichment, troubleshooting agents that can actually modify the configuration. So my very first agent is online, and I'm going to recreate it right now. So let's talk about the 3 agents that we're going to build here live. We're going to build an interface health test agent using the PyETS MCP that I wrote, and we're going to have it send an email report to me at the end of the operation. The next thing we're going to do is build up your source of truth with an agent that will sync your actual configuration to NetBox. And then we're going to do the reverse in NetBox, where we're going to add an interface to NetBox and have an agent synchronize that and configure that interface downstream on the device. For more about FlowAI, please scan the QR code. We have a whole landing page dedicated to this. And make sure you get badged in, because we've got a Mac Mini and 1 month of Claude Max for you to start doing your own Vibe operations at home. And all of these slides, including this presentation, are available on my GitHub. All right, so let's switch into live demo mode. The first agent we're going to build in the FlowAI dashboard here, and you can see we have manage agents, build agents, sessions, and the agent tools. So let's go ahead and build an agent. Interface, health test, agent that tests interface health. You are a network engineer who tests interfaces using PyETS MCP tools. You do not have permission to change anything, only gather state, generate tests, and run tests. Agent instructions 1, use PyETS MCP tools to gather the interface state from device. 2, generate dynamic tests based on the real JSON payload. 3, run the tests. 4, report back to john.capobianco@itential.com with a summary and detailed report. Thanks for your patience. Sorry we had to do that again. Okay, this is better. So now if I look for PyETS in the tools, PyETS, here we are. Sorry, there they are. So what we're going to use is the run show command tool from PyETS. Should be the only tool we need is to run show commands. And then we're going to look for the email tool to send an email. So you can see here I've bound 2 tools to this agent, and we're going to go ahead and move on. Now I get to pick my provider and my model. So we're going to use Itentials, and we're actually going to use Sonnet 4.6. Okay, we're going to go next. And this is just an account identity. So FlowAI with a password. So we add some controls and some protection around this agent. Next, review everything, create the agent. And now we should have this new interface health test agent that we're going to run. So we started the agent health test. And if we hit on more details here, we start to see the token breakdown, the timing, agent reasoning right here. I will help you gather, right? It shows our auditing, shows the reasoning, and then it will show when it calls the tools. So let's go ahead and it's going to run show interfaces on that device. And there's the JSON payload that command came back with. And now it's going to run the show command again. I may have forgot to add a tool to this to generate dynamic tests, but we'll let it run and see. It should be able to reason without that tool. So based on the JSON, the live JSON payload, I'm generating and running tests across 5 test categories for all interfaces. Let me execute the live validation now. It's running the show command, and the agent is still reasoning. And now we wait. There is some, it takes time for the agent to reason over all that JSON data to generate the tests and run the tests. So while that runs, let me just tee up what we're going to use next. So if you go to Itential's GitHub, we have something called the Builder Skills. Okay, Agentic Builder Skills. And this is published in Anthropic's catalog, where what you do is you install the plugin into your Claude code. You make a working directory with a .env file with your URL to your Itential platform and your client ID and secret. And then we can start using / commands inside of Claude code to build agents. So the next agent we're going to build is an agent that's going to add, so this device is in NetBox in the site Itential, but you can see it doesn't have anything populated. So we're going to build an agent to grab the network data and populate the interfaces and IP addresses in NetBox. Let's see how this is going. Here we go, agent response. I have all the data. Here's the test report. And I should have, hopefully I should have an email sitting here. So there's the report recipient. I should have received an email. But anyhow, we have this full test, and you can see all the interfaces and sub-interfaces were tested. We have loopback interfaces and some failed down interfaces, some test failures. So we had 50 pass, 7 failed. Enable state tests, error count tests, consistency tests. It found some critical findings, some medium findings, a health scorecard, and the email that was sent to me, which I should get in a minute or two. So to do this by hand, I would still be writing the Python test cases, right? I added a very simple user prompt, system prompt. I added 2 tools, and the agent is now running health tests. Now, how does this scale? Well, because it's PyTest, the PyTest test bed could have every one of your devices, and you could test all of them, one of them, some of them on demand. Because now if I go back into my agent, manage agents, at any point in time now, I can just click the interface test and rerun that agent, right? Offloading all that testing. Okay, now here comes the Highwire act. So I'm inside of the VibeOps GitHub repository, and I'm in a folder under Tuesday, get into the flow, sync to NetBox. Okay, so I'm going to go into Claude Code YOLO mode. And I just want to show you, if I do /Itential, you can see that my Claude Code has the skills to interface with Itential. So I've gone ahead and made a canned prompt here. And I'll paste it in and we'll explore it together once I've pasted it in. So I'm saying, sorry, let me get rid of this. I would like to build an agent that uses PyTS MCP to gather interfaces and IP addresses from the device and use the NetBox bulk create MCP tool to populate the devices in NetBox. Email John, keep relevant reasoning and agent data artifacts in this local tracked folder and do not make any assumptions about data. Then we have that /Itential builder FlowAgent. Enter. That's it. And miraculously, in a few moments, there'll be an agent running in Itential's platform based on this. Now, it may be interactive. It may come back and ask me some clarifying questions, but most often it's just kind of a set it and forget it. Or you could do it interactively. I'd like to build an agent. What kind of agent do you want to build? One that does interface health tests, and you can kind of go back and forth. Now, again, there's a little bit of foreplay here. We've got to be patient for the finale, but this is the way I've been building agents. I'm not a very big fan of GUIs in general, not Itential's GUI, but I'm a keyboard CLI type person. So you can see, using the .env file, it's already authenticated against our platform. So now it's going to come up with a bit of a plan of attack and break it down into steps and then execute those steps. This should take no more than 15 minutes or so. And if there's any questions so far, let me know. Does anyone have any questions? No? Pretty good? Pretty simple? Okay, so the provider Claude exists. We've discovered those tools. So here we go. Discover and test PyTS MCP, NetBox, and email tools. I love this because it's going to validate the tools before it builds the agent. So when I get to the agent, I know that the tools that have been bound to the agent have already passed some pre-flight checks. We're going to verify the Sonnet model. We're going to create the flow agent with prompts and capabilities. We're going to run the mission and capture the artifacts. So I'm in this sync to NetBox folder. Part of what I like about this process versus using the GUI is that I'm going to get markdown artifacts in this Git repo. So when I want to share it with Juliana, right, I just send her the Git repo and now she can see all the reasoning and all the steps that went into building this agent. Okay, let me check the email tool schema and the PyTS tools directly to get real data, no assumptions. And this is not the kind of thing that you need to babysit. Like if you look at OnKit, he'll like Alt-Tab and start building a second agent while this agent's building. I've seen him do 4 or 5 agents at a time. Or this is kind of the thing where once this is running, you Alt-Tab back over to your email and get some work done while this is happening.
Do you see different results using like this or 7?
Yeah, so the question is, do we see different results based on the different models? So one issue I'm going to be transparent about is we're using the Anthropic SDK, and with Opus 4.7 or 4.8, they broke their own SDK. So we have to do a bit of a refresh to use the Opus models because they dropped support for the temperature field. But yes, I like to use Opus here in Claude Code, but Sonnet in my agent to do the reasoning. So it's a nice mix where I'm using Opus 4.8 here at the CLI, but the agent can be bound to Sonnet tools. So it's struggling a little bit here to find the right path to some of the tools. I'm just going to let it cook. So the device exists. So it's actually confirmed a few things here in NetBox. And now it's trying a show IP interface brief command with PyTS just to validate that the tools are working. Real interface data confirmed. For NetBox IPs, I need to use Cedar, use show IP. Okay, so it's going to find the right command to use here. So now it knows show IP interface is the right command because it gives the prefix length to give us the IP addresses. It's discovered 55 interfaces in total. Now let me verify the NetBox side. The device and site must already exist. So let me query the NetBox tool. So it found the device ID, the site ID for Itential. It's checking if there's any existing interfaces. So we're moving along here. We're getting a little bit further. Clean slate. All right, so we're all set. And I love this. So we got a check mark on the first phase. Next phase is going to be very fast. It's just going to verify that we've got the Sonnet model available. And then it will go ahead and create the FlowAgent and run the agent. Okay, so now we're going to get into the agent creation. And ideally in this folder, I'm going to get a JSON file showing the payload that the agent used to create that Claude used to create the agent. And it's smart. It's actually going to check and see if there's already any existing agents that can do this before it creates one from scratch. And in any second now, over here, we will have a new agent created. And I know it feels like a long time. We've only been cooking for 6 minutes here. Okay, so I know time is relative and it feels long when I'm kind of sitting here watching it, but we've just hit 7 minutes. There we go. So we have an artifacts folder now. So it's going to start tracking its work. And we're going to have that FlowAgent created any second now. Now, for Itential, this is huge because these workflows and agents used to take time. You used to have to put a lot of energy and effort into them. And now we can use natural language and these skills to just express your intent, clarify questions if it asks you, and then you have the agent in, like I said, 10, 15 minutes. So I have everything validated with real data plus the pattern. Let me gather the authoritative data set, save the artifacts, and let me start task 3. Task 3 is the creation of the FlowAgent. Artifacts actually has some artifacts in it now, which is pretty cool. And any minute now, we will have a new FlowAgent. Before building the agent, let me validate the exact NetBox bulk create field shapes with a single create and cleanup so the agent won't fail on field names. So it realizes this wants to test one tool with NetBox and then clean up itself so that when it binds the tool and the agent, it's not going to fail on the bulk creation. Okay, so it's done a little bit more reasoning. And it's testing out the NetBox MCP a little bit here again, which is good because we don't want that failure to be in the agent once the agent's built. Okay, it's done some more reasoning as to why it got a 400. Okay, confirmed. Interface count is back to 0, so the cleanup succeeded. Kind of neat that it actually creates a record and then deletes the record to prove the MCP calls are working. And now let me verify the cleanup and then build the agent. So we just hit the 10-minute mark, which is fine. Everything is validated. Now let me create the FlowAgent. Okay, I see a 200 with the create. Agent created with that model and 5 tools. Let me run the mission asynchronously and poll it. So if I go in here, I see the agent definition. So now I have a JSON payload with the agent definition as part of my Git repo that we can use as a template or share with our colleagues. And if I hop into the portal now, I will have a new sync to NetBox agent right there. Very cool. So let's take a look at what it built. Here's the prompt. I didn't have to type in all this stuff, right? The skill did all of this based on my intent. Pretty neat, right? Verify in NetBox, get interface inventory, get the authoritative IP and prefix, check existing interfaces, bulk create the interfaces, email John, and then the very simple user prompt as to what to do. And if we look at the tools it selected, you notice when I built this by hand, there was a little friction in me finding the right tools. So it picked the run show command, list devices, list objects in NetBox, bulk create objects, and email with options. So we go into our session. This thing should be cooking right now. There it is.
Here is step 2.
Really cool. and we look at more details, right? I've systematically worked through each step synchronization process. Let me verify NetBox and get the interface data simultaneously. Listed the objects in NetBox. Ran the show commands in PyETS. Bulk create. Bulk create. Agent reasoning. Bulk create. Now, I bet you if I go in here, I bet you I already have my interfaces. Boom. 55 interfaces. All of them synchronized. And it's probably finished up IP addresses already. Yeah, so now let's take a look at an IP address. Let's pick some of these sub interfaces. Try that one. There's the IP address. I mean, so seriously though, that is pretty cool, from a simple prompt in Claude code to a working agent to actually filling in NetBox. Now, we're only about 30 minutes in. Do you want me to do it in the reverse direction? All right, so check this out. I'm in NetBox here, and I'm going to create an interface. So let's find a free, what loopbacks do I have? Let's do loopback 10. So I'm going to add interface loopback 10. This is a virtual interface. Oh, I have to create it and then bind an IP to it, right? So that's loopback 10. And let's just give it a random IP. Hang on. I got to do that in the IPAM, right? Let's just do a public IP just to be sure it doesn't conflict. Okay, so I have a loopback with an IP that's not on the device, but it is in NetBox. So let's go ahead. Well, let's just make sure that this is finished here. So it's still polling and doesn't realize that the job is done yet. So let's just give it a second to finish up its job here. It's having problem with the email. Okay. It picked the wrong tool that send email with options. Not a big deal. So let's stop this agent. And let's stop this mission. Exit anyway. And let's switch over to the sync from NetBox. And I've got a pretty big prompt here that I'm not going to read, but the gist of it is, go to NetBox, go to the device, do a diff, and anything that's in NetBox that's not on the device, actually configure it on the device with the /Itential Builder FlowAgent. And again, this process is going to take 10 to 15 minutes, and we can just kind of watch the logs cook as it goes. And I should get similar artifacts, including the agent definition, that I can push to GitHub to share amongst my team. Now, we're going to have to take it at face value, or I guess I could SSH into that switch over EPN to prove that the loopback gets configured. Let's just assume that it works. So look at the intelligence here. A sibling project to sync to NetBox already exists and does the reverse direction. This is a perfect template. Let me study it fully. So it recognized there was one agent to do the other direction, and that this is simply the inverse of that other agent. So it's going to, grab all the tools it needs, come up with the reverse direction. We've already got some artifacts started here. So again, similar steps. It's authenticated against the platform. Let me find the PyETS configure tool and confirm the NetBox email tools exist. So it found the right tool, config with diff, and it's going to finish building this agent. All tools confirmed. Let me read the full existing tool descriptions, check the provider model, and look at existing agents. latest Sonnet model. All agents run with this service account. And again, 10 to 12, 15 minutes at the most to build an agent using this approach. The other thing I should mention, if I go back to the Git repo, while that cooks in the background, it's not just agents you can use this approach to build. You can build spec agents, flow agents to spec, project to spec, documentation, golden config. So we can build workflows, flow agents, documentation, all kinds of different things using just a different slash command from the Anthropic skill. Okay, so it found the 56 interfaces. I think it was 55 before, so it did pick up the new loopback. Now the live device side has 55 and 43. So it notices a possible drift here. But I don't want this Claude to resolve it. I want this to build an agent that I can use, reuse on demand to keep my NetBox and my real source of reality in sync with each other. And each second feels like 10 minutes here when I don't have much to say. We're just going to keep an eye on it here. And this agent actually should build a lot faster, given it's doing the inverse of the previous agent. So 2 for 2 on our agents. Let's see if we can go 3 for 3. This is a high wire act. So device has 55, NetBox has 56. And now it's going to do the diff and then give the agent what it needs to do this for us. So still thinking, it's giving us some hints that it's still thinking more. Sometimes this will actually say almost done or getting close. So we're just going to keep an eye on it. We just crossed the 5-minute mark. Thinking some more. Let me confirm the email tools required fields, then build the agent. So all email fields required. I have everything I need. Let me set up task tracking and build the agent. Build reusable NetBox device sync agent. Run the agent and verify against the device. Write the artifacts. So 5 minutes in, any second now, we should have a third agent here. And I should get the JSON payload any second now. The JSON payload for the agent definition file. So we just hit 6 minutes. I'll write the definition and then post it. So any second now, we should have that definition and the agent will be created. There we go. Build agent.py. Okay, that's neat. There's the agent definition file with the selected tools, the role, and the system prompts, and the provider. So if we hop back in here and do a refresh, less than a minute ago, NetBox 2 iOS device sync. Here's the prompt. I didn't have to type any of that in, and the user prompt. And if we check the tools, one of these tools should be PyETS config with diff. And it even included a rollback in case the agent botched something, we can roll it back. That's pretty cool. So then if we watch our sessions, it's in progress here, and check it out. It's going to configure interface loopback 10 with that IP address and no shut the interface using the config with diff tool. So it detected the diff of the interface and IP, pulled it from NetBox, and now we're pushing it with PyETS config, and we'll get an email report. So visit Itential's GitHub repository, github.com/Itential/builder-skills. Install the skill into your Claude code and start building agents via natural language prompts. Or you could do it through the GUI and type in your user and system prompts and pick your tools by hand. It's totally up to you. So I want to thank you for joining me here in the VibeOps Lounge, and I hope you found this exciting. Again, please reach out if you want demos, if you have any questions at all. We built 3 agents in 45 minutes, 15 minutes an agent, all live, all working, real, nothing staged. And I'm really proud of this work. So thank you for joining us.